I'm a huge fan of electronic devices for concentrates. I have a lot of them, and I plan on getting a lot more in the future, so long as they keep dropping good ones. But it's one of the things that I get asked about a lot. People want to know what the good devices are. I do have a number of videos about them, and I do have a tier list. I think I might update this year after I try a few more devices. But I'm here to tell you about 5 e-rigs that look like a Peak Pro, or they look like a good e-rig, but they're not good. These are 5 e-rigs you could probably just skip. Now, before I show you, there's a few things that go into determining the quality. Obviously, you got to consider the performance, you got to consider the price, you got to consider the capabilities of it. And while the ones I'm going to show you in this video I don't use regularly, they're so bad. I've used them in the past to test them out. I've made individual videos on, I think, most of them. I'm just going to show you what I got and maybe what you can skip. But this is the Utillian 8. This one looks cool. It still looks cooler than any e-rig I got. It looks so cool. It looks like Darth Vader, the e-rig. It sucks. It's so bad. I believe it has the same atomizer, uses the same chamber as the core, but they missed the mark on it. They didn't give you enough options for time and temperature. And you get like short, hot dabs with this. The glass isn't universal with anything. It doesn't fit on other pieces, but I believe it's the same chamber as like the crossing core. I think I did make a video calling this the worst device of 2023. It's not great. The next one, I see a lot, and it's strange. This is one of the most expensive ones. It's like a little bit more than the other one. They're both in that Nintendo Switch price range, closer to 300, or this one's right there. But this one also looks really cool. It looks like a steampunk e-rig. They got a metallic body here. It's got the metallic inner chamber. It snaps on with magnets. But you got like the worst little atomizer in here. This is the same one. If you bought like a dab pen in 2015 for like 30-40 bucks, this has like the same chamber in there. It's crazy to me how much they're selling this for, and it has such a terrible atomizer. It's one of those you don't have to clean it, it's self-cleaning atomizers. They're super disposable, and they just get worse and worse every hit. Your first hit might be enjoyable. You can get like, you know, big clouds with this, but it's got a lot of your previous dabs in there. It's hitting the dab really hot, and you're paying a lot of money for like a $30-40 vape pen that's just super dressed up in a metallic body. This thing is bad, but it looks cool. Bro, you go into the store, you're like, oh, bro, the steampunk one or the Darth Vader one. Don't do it. Don't do it. Next on the list, this one I had high hopes for. The technology in here is pretty cool. They use induction heating. They got the electromagnetic waves heating up your concentrate here. It seems cool. I could never get a good hit off of it. It's actually pretty pricey too. The technology seemed interesting, but the execution on it was not great. And no matter how I tried to hit it, I just never got like a really good hit. I do hear they're making an update version, or maybe there's a new version soon. I'm gonna test that, but if you see the OG Aspire dab, I'd skip it. I'd pass on that one. I do feel bad for anybody if you're watching and you have one of these e-rigs. I'm sorry. Look, I wish I made this video sooner. Look, I know the rig gets you high. I know you can do hits with it, but look, there's some better stuff out there, and some of it costs way less money. Here's another one. I got asked about this a lot when I was really making a lot of e-rig content. I think last year I had so many people telling me about different e-rigs. I'm not putting the Luca Dragon Egg on this list, by the way. If you're like, I can't wait for him to show the dragon. Bro, it's the plastic, it's the soda bottle of e-rigs. It's a plastic bottle. Skip it. But this is by the same company. This is the Unicorn 2.0, I believe. This is another instance. It's similar to this one, where they take a terrible little atomizer you'd find on like a $20-30 device, and they dress it up to be all, ooh, look at me, I'm an e-rig. No, you're not. You're a little coil with a quartz dish over it. You're like the same thing almost as like the first vape pen I ever got forever ago. You're barely better than that. I've heard a lot of people say they really like theirs. I've heard people say, oh, you got to try the mini version, it's better. But I've tried a few things from this brand, and like you can get several atomizer options for all of their rigs. They're all bad. They're all like the super outdated ones you shouldn't use anymore. My theory is they just have like warehouse after warehouse full of like overflow stock of just every terrible atomizer in the world. They're like, we got to make 1 billion more rigs to push these atomizers out. Because like, what? Why? Just make better stuff. All right, the last one on this list, I could have went on with a bunch more, but this one, it's like one of the craziest Peak knockoffs. They call it the Peak, and the chamber has the same same threading as the Peak. I actually put my my 3D chamber on here, my 3D XL chamber on here. They fit, but it doesn't read them. I was looking online. Some people say that they've had their Peak atomizers work on here, but I couldn't get it to work. I did put a third-party one on here that seemed to work. I didn't really test it, but the way that it comes default, it's bad, bro. It looks just like a Peak Pro. I think they call it the Peak Pro to throw you up. It really looks closer than a lot of the other E-rigs. It seems nice, like it has a nice feel to it. The haptic feedback on it, it's not crazy. It doesn't feel like janky or like some cheapo Mad Catz version. It seems nice, but like the hits on it were so bad. The atomizer like stains when you hit it. You go to wipe it out, you're like, oh, this looks just like a Puffco atomizer. I'm gonna take a nice hit, wipe it clean, and you're like, it's yellow on the inside. I can't wipe that off. What are we doing here? So I don't think they have like the same finish on the inside of their atomizers. They made it look just like a Peak. They called it a Peak, but I don't know about this one, dude. I think you have a lot of temperature options, time options. All right, this is called the Ming Vape Luxo Peak. I've seen it rebranded into a few different ways. There's sometimes branding on like different parts of it where they just call it another name. That's something you also got to worry about some of these E-rigs. Sometimes they just like buy something mass produced from China and then slap a logo on it. And it's like, you can find the same E-rig with like 5 different brands and they're all bad. They're just like, maybe we can market it better. So I told you what not to get. And look, you can get them if you want. You can get them if you want. But all of the options that I mentioned, they're all worse than the Peak Pro. They're all worse than the Carta, which they're all a little bit cheaper than. But I have a device that I use and recommend that's better than all of them, and it's cheaper. I will say on a quick note, I'm testing a few devices in a similar price range to this that look promising. So if you're still on the fence, I'd wait a couple of weeks because we might have some more low-cost E-rigs to talk about. Let's show you just a quick rip on the core here. I believe I got the core 2.2. There's different atomizer options. The atomizers are low cost. This thing is a workhorse. You can get it with different glass tops. You can buy the base by itself. It's really solid and it won't break the bank, and you're getting really nice hits. I got this from Discount E-Nails. You know, we have the Cewpins code, but if you type !core in my Twitch or Discord, we'll have more info for you there. This guy doesn't have a ton of customization with time and temperature. I think it has 4 temperature settings and it runs for like an 80-second hit, which you can cut off at any moment. You just hit the button again. I usually cut it off between like 55 and 65 seconds. But nice, easy to maintain atomizer. The parts on it are low cost, and you really get hits that rival what you can get on the Carta or the Peak Pro. Anyway, don't miss the sesh on Twitch. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a lit day, my dudes.